Hello and welcome to the Sleepy Scientist. I'm so glad you're here. Whether you're curled up in bed, stretched across the couch with soft light fading, or simply letting your thoughts quiet down for the night, this space is made just for you. Tonight, we begin a journey through one of the most powerful and poetic phenomena in the universe, the birth of a black hole. It sounds dramatic, I know, but don't worry. And our pace is slow, and the path is soft, like a feather drifting through the dark. Now, I should mention, I've done my very best to make this story deeply calming. Still, there's always a chance it might end up being a bit too interesting. If it keeps you awake with wonder, at least you'll drift off a little wiser. And if you're enjoying this gentle beginning, feel free to give the video a quiet like, or maybe even subscribe for more peaceful science like this. If you'd like to share, let me know where you're listening from and what time it is where you are. I love seeing the bedtime maps slowly light up star by star. As always, this is just for relaxation and education. It's not meant to be medical advice or a substitute for help when you need it. Now, let's begin. Let your breathing slow, your thoughts drift, and your eyes soften. Tonight, the night opens its eyes, and we begin. You lie beneath a sky that's not truly black. It only looks that way from a distance. In truth, it's filled with ancient light. Quiet pulses from stars, both near and far, fill the dark like notes in a sleeping song. Some of those stars have only just ignited. Others are fading out, and a few, just a rare few, are preparing to become something entirely different. They're not in a rush. Out here, time is wide and slow. You float gently in thought, imagining yourself rising above the clouds, higher than the tallest weather, past the plains and the drifting satellites, beyond the buzz of human noise, up until the earth is a quiet marble below you, glowing softly in the sun's leftover warmth. Out here, silence becomes its own kind of sound. You turn toward the stars. The night sky wraps around you like velvet, and among the twinkling lights, one particular star begins to shimmer brighter in your awareness. It's not the closest, and it is not even the brightest, but it is old, and it is massive, far more massive than the sun, a true giant. This star has lived a long and powerful life, burning with a strength that only great mass can afford. For millions of years, it has kept a quiet balance, a dance between two great forces. On one side, gravity, always pulling inward, trying to crush the star into itself. On the other, fusion pushing outward, born from the incredible heat at the core, where atoms crash together and become something new. It's a bit like your own breath, for inhale, exhale, inhale, the quiet rhythm of life. The star's existence has been a steady, glowing inhale and exhale of light and pressure, holding its shape through the slow patience of physics. But nothing stays balanced forever. You drift closer now, not physically, but in your mind. You approach the giant star like a curious dreamer floating at the edge of something immense. Its light is strong, but not harsh. It bathes you in a golden warmth, though you feel no heat. This is a place for watching, not touching. You begin to notice the layers of the star, like the petals of a giant flower or the rings of a tree. Each one tells a story. The outer layers are rich in hydrogen, the simplest, most ancient element in the universe. The deeper you go, the heavier things become. Helium, carbon, neon, all forged in the furnace of the core. Deep down at the very center there is iron, a silent signal. Iron is the heaviest element this star can build through fusion. Beyond it, the process no longer gives energy, it takes it. And so the star, magnificent and proud, is running out of breath. You float in this pause, the moment before change, a lull in the universe's heartbeat. The star still shines, still breathes, but its time is drawing near. And yet there is no fear here, only transformation. Somewhere in your chest you feel it too, the strange, calm acceptance that even great things must let go. The star is not dying in sorrow. It is returning its light to the universe. Its last act will be the beginning of something new. You drift back slightly now, watching from afar once again. The star glows steady. From Earth it might look unchanged, but from here you can feel the tension, the whisper of weight shifting. The balance that once held firm now teeters. A single moment, quiet, invisible, begins the process. The core starts to collapse. Not with an explosion, not yet, but with a stillness more profound than motion. Gravity folds inward, and the star begins its final story. You don't rush forward, there's no need. The transformation will take time, not in seconds, but in deep, cosmic rhythms. It's the soundless music of matter obeying its own laws. You feel yourself rocking slightly now, like a boat on a quiet sea, letting go of the day's weight, letting your mind settle like dust beneath gravity. The star is preparing for something remarkable, a passage, a threshold, but it hasn't reached it yet, is only beginning to shift. And tomorrow, we will follow it deeper. We'll step gently into the heat of its heart, into the quiet pressure that makes stars burn and bend, into the place where elements are born and where something impossibly heavy begins to take shape. But for now, you rest here beneath the eyes of the night, watching the first giant exhale. You return now to the place we left behind, just beneath the velvet ceiling of space, where a great star floats in stillness. It has not yet collapsed. Not fully. It holds its shape for one last chapter in its long, luminous story. Tonight, we linger here beside this ancient light. You are weightless again, quiet in your thoughts, the world far behind you. Breathe in. Slowly, let your chest rise. Hold, then breathe out. Feel your body settle. As you do, imagine the star beside you doing the same. For though it seems still, it too breathes in its way. Inside its enormous body, forces are always in tension. At its heart, a blazing core fuses lighter elements into heavier ones. That fusion releases energy, energy that pushes outward, keeping the star from caving in, but at the same time, gravity pulls inward, always tugging toward collapse. It's a quiet tug-of-war, a million-year balancing act. The outer layers want to fall in, the center wants to hold them out, and for most of its life, the star succeeds. You might think of this balance like a lantern floating in a dark ocean. Its light is not frantic, it doesn't flicker. It shines in quiet resistance against the heavy sea. The fuel inside burns slowly, but always with purpose. That fuel is hydrogen, the universe's first and simplest building block. When the star was young, hydrogen filled its core. Each atom drawn into the immense pressure of the star's center was fused into helium. That fusion released heat, and heat gave the star its glow. You float beside the star now, feeling its light, not as heat, but as a golden hum. But hydrogen, like any resource, runs low over time. As the hydrogen in the core is used up, the star begins to shift. It doesn't die right away. Instead, it adapts. It moves into a new phase of life. The helium that's been building up becomes the new fuel, fusing into carbon and oxygen. The star swells. It grows redder, larger, cooler on the outside, but hotter. Deep within, you've likely heard the term red supergiant. That is what you're seeing now. The star has entered this phase. Its outer layers balloon outward, spreading like the petals of an overgrown flower. If this star replaced our sun, its outer edges might reach all the way past Mars. And yet, for all its size, it is delicate. Imagine a soap bubble, huge, thin, floating on the still air. That's what the outer layers of the star have become. Gentle, puffed up, and light. But beneath that softness, the core is anything but gentle. Down in the heart, fusion continues. The star begins to fuse heavier and heavier elements. Carbon into neon, neon into magnesium, magnesium into silicon. Each layer of the core is like a nesting doll stacked with the ashes of what came before. Each fusion stage burns faster than the last. What once took millions of years now takes thousands, then years, then days, and eventually something new appears in the very center. Iron. You pause here, hovering just outside the star's glowing skin. Inside, the fusion fire continues. But iron is different. It cannot be fused into heavier elements without using more energy than it gives. It's a dead end. You might think of it like trying to build a fire out of stone. No matter how hot you make it, it just won't burn. So now, at the heart of the star, something cold begins to grow. Not cold in temperature, but cold in purpose. Iron builds up atom by atom in a core that can no longer resist gravity's pull. You listen, not with ears, but with presence. The star is still shining, still holding itself together, but the burden is growing, and something in you understands the feeling. The way a body can seem strong from the outside, even while pressure quietly builds within. The star doesn't show fear. It doesn't panic, it simply continues. You float beside it, watching the light shimmer gently, unaware to any outside eye that something extraordinary is about to unfold. Perhaps that's the most poetic truth of all. Stars die slowly until they don't. There is no single moment we can point to yet, but it's coming. The balance is growing more fragile. The gravity that once served as a partner is becoming a force the star can no longer resist. And here, beside you, in this impossibly vast sky, something ancient leans toward change. You close your eyes for a moment and imagine standing in a field at night. The cool grass beneath your feet, the quiet hush of wind in the trees. Above you, stars shine softly. One of them, a little brighter, the rest flickers faintly. You don't notice, not consciously, but that flicker is the star's breath catching his last steady rhythm. The next time it exhales, it won't be with light. You begin to feel the hush gathering, not a silence of absence, but one of potential, like the moment before a wave crashes, or the final blink before sleep. The iron core grows heavier. It presses inward. The star's outer layers continue to shine, but the heart is falling inward on itself. You remain with it, floating, holding space for this ending. The star is a cathedral of physics, gravity, pressure, light, and time. And even as its balance begins to fail, there is beauty in its burden. It has spent its entire existence fusing the universe's breath into something more. Now it must let go. You do not need to know what happens next. Not yet. Let the thought remain soft like a feather on your chest. The next stage will come quickly, a collapse, sudden and silent. But tonight you rest here beside a star with a heavy heart, holding its shape for just a little longer. Drift with me now. Deeper into the star we've come to know. We've watched its glow from afar. We've felt the soft tug of its weight, delicate balance it has tried so long to keep. Now we go inward toward the very thing that gives it life. The core, it sounds like. A hard word, doesn't it? Core. But this is not a place of harshness. It is a place of making, a quiet, radiant forge, a womb of elements. You drift toward the center, past layers of gas and heat. The outer shell of the star is loose and swollen now, stretched from time and pressure, like fabric thinned by use. But the core is dense and glowing, like the heart of a flame that never flickers. Breathe in slowly, hold, breathe out. Imagine the heat of this place, not as burning pain, but as pure energy, bright and steady, focused and deep. Here, temperatures reach millions of degrees. Pressures so high that atoms, those tiny building blocks of matter, begin to fuse. And that is the miracle. Fusion, not destruction, but union. In the early life of this star, hydrogen atoms, the most basic kind, collided in the furnace of the core. Not violently, but persistently. Gravity pulled them in. Heat made them move faster. And eventually, two hydrogen atoms joined to form helium. It's not just a chemical shift. It's a transformation of identity. Two particles becoming something new, something stall. And in the joining, a tiny sliver of mass becomes energy. Not a lot, but enough. Enough to push outward against the crush of gravity. Enough to make the star shine. You can think of fusion like stitching stars together, a cosmic quilt made of light. As you hover beside the core, you can almost feel the rhythm of it, pulse by pulse, or reaction by reaction. Hydrogen into helium, helium into carbon, carbon into neon. Each element formed by the last, each one heavier, more complex, more rare. The star builds them patiently. You might imagine the core as an onion of fire, each shell containing a different fusion reaction. At the very center, the heaviest elements. Around that, a layer where silicon fuses, then a shell for neon, one for oxygen, one for carbon, one for helium. And at the outermost active layer, hydrogen still fuses quietly. Each layer feeds the next. Each step forward brings the star closer to exhaustion. You hover now in a space between layers, between two shells of fusion. The silence here is dense, not empty, but concentrated. A hush that feels like reverence. The kind of silence you find in deep libraries or ancient cathedrals, or your own thoughts in the middle of the night. You don't need to rush. This is the slowest kind of alchemy, the kind that turns age into atoms. And yet now the reactions are accelerating. Fusion of heavier elements requires more heat, more pressure, and produces less energy. So it doesn't last as long. Helium burning might last 1,000,000 years, carbon just 1,000. neon just a year. Silicon fuses into iron in only days. You may be wondering, why does this star keep going? Why burn through one layer after another, speeding faster and faster toward its end? Because gravity never stops. Gravity is the quiet persistence beneath all things. It does not rage. It does not rush. It simply waits, pulling inward always. The core of the star responds by lighting new fires, trying to hold its shape, but it is growing tired. You might picture a potter spinning a great heavy wheel. For a while, their strength is enough to keep the clay centered. But as the work goes on, the weight becomes harder to bear. The spinning slows. The form begins to wobble. The furnace is reaching its final phase. And at the very center now, iron is building up. You hover close to it. This lump of iron no bigger than the moon. But with the mass of our sun packed inside, it is unimaginably dense. A spoonful of this material would outweigh a mountain. But more than that, it is still. Iron does not give energy when it fuses. It is the end of the road, a wall that the star cannot climb. No matter how much heat it throws at the iron, it cannot get any light from it. So, the core cools just slightly. That small drop in energy is all gravity needs. The balance finally tips, but not yet. You're still here beside the furnace, watching its last steady glow. You feel its history. Millions of years of burning, balancing, building, all for this moment. All leading here, and in a quiet way, it is beautiful. This star is not failing. It is playing something. The elements it forged, helium, carbon, oxygen, silicon, they are the materials of planets, oceans, and even your body. You're not outside this story. You are part of it. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen you breathe, all born in stars like this one. This isn't destruction, it's return. You float with that truth a while. The furnace glows. Its last, the iron core grows heavier. The layers around it burn faster and faster. The outer shell of the star still shines in space, calm and red and wide. But underneath, the foundation is changing. It is not fear that fills this moment. It is anticipation. Something is coming. A moment of collapse, sudden and total. A release of energy so great that for a brief time, this one star will outshine an entire galaxy. But for now, the furnace still glows. It is not yet finished. One more breath, one more flicker, then darkness. But from that darkness, something entirely new will begin. There is a moment quiet and profound when something deep within begins to give. You return now to the furnace we explored, that brilliant layered heart of a massive star. You've seen its fire, felt its weight, watched it build the elements of the cosmos, one breath at a time. But that fire is flickering, and the iron at the center has become too heavy. Tonight, we are standing in a moment of balance, so delicate, so precise, that no eye can see it tip, but it does. The core can no longer hold its own weight, and the collapse begins. Not with thunder, not with flames, but with a sudden, complete surrender. You hover now at the edge of the iron core, and in a blink, it starts to fall. The atoms, once held apart by heat, are now helpless under gravity's pull. They fall inward, racing toward the center. The core shrinks faster and faster until the space between particles is gone. The speed of the collapse is astonishing. In less than a second, the core goes from the size of the Earth to the size of a small city. You feel the rush, not chaotic, but controlled, like an enormous breath being drawn in. What happens in that blink is one of the most powerful events in nature. As the core falls, pressure climbs beyond imagination. Electrons are forced into protons, forming neutrons. The matter becomes something new, a neutron-rich fluid, impossibly dense. A neutron star tries to form, but this star is too massive even for that. The pressure continues to rise, and then silence. The core halts, the inner collapse ends, but the outer layers, still rushing in, strike the dense core with unimaginable force. A wall of falling gas slams into something that will not move, and the star, this giant, this ancient furnace, rebounds. An enormous shock wave bursts outward from the collision, a wave of energy that moves like thunder through the star's body. This is the beginning of the end, or perhaps more accurately, the beginning of something new. You float within this unfolding. You do not rush. The physics moves at the speed of thought, instantaneous yet timeless. You may be wondering how such a collapse is even possible, how something so big can be swallowed so quickly. It helps to think not in size, but in mass. The star is not hollow. Its matter is compressed, squeezed, packed into itself. The deeper you go, the heavier it becomes. The outer layers are vast but light. The center is compact and overwhelming. Think of a pile of blankets stacked so high they pressed themselves flat. No space, no softness, just weight. And gravity, relentless, faithful gravity, never grows tired. As the core collapses, space around it begins to bend, literally, not figuratively. Gravity becomes so strong that it warps the fabric of space-time itself. You hover at the edge of this curve, and you begin to notice something strange. Time is changing here. It stretches, it slows. To a distant observer, everything near the collapsing core begins to freeze. Not metaphorically, truly. You are approaching the place where time and space are no longer separate, where before and after begin to lose meaning. The star's outer layers are still rushing in, but you are inside the pause, inside the stillness. You breathe slowly, the breath of someone floating in something too big to measure. Soon the star will explode. The supernova is coming, the great release. But for now, the collapse continues inward. You are now near what will become the singularity, the point at the heart of a black hole where all the mass collapses into a space with no volume, no surface, just gravity, just pull. This is the center of gravity's masterpiece. And yet it is silent. No light escapes. Not because it is dark, but because the very structure of space bends back on itself. Light, trying to leave, finds itself curving inward, again like a river looping into a whirlpool. You don't fall into it, you stay close. Close enough to feel its mystery. Far enough to stay whole. There is a boundary here. The edge of the unreturnable. It is not yet fully formed, but it's coming. You float above the star's remaining surface. The layers above the collapsing core have begun to shake. The shock wave has started to rise. Energy stored in millions of years of burning is about to be released in a single moment. But even now, there is no sound. Sound requires air and space, offers none. This is a silent storm, and at its heart the core folds further inward. You feel your own heart slow, not from fear, but from awe. You're watching something beyond violence. This is not chaos, it is precision. The universe obeying its rules with quiet resolve. Nothing is wasted, nothing is accidental. The weight of the core creates something new. An escape so complete, not even light can resist it. We are almost there, almost to the moment where the core becomes not just heavy, but invisible, not destroyed, transformed. The black hole is not born yet, but the birth canal has opened. And like all births, it comes with pressure, with heat, with a sudden surrender of what was to make space for what will be. You linger now in the final seconds before the supernova. You feel the tension building, like the moment just before thunder reaches you, when you've already seen the flash. The outer layers fall, the inner core holds. The space between them is vanishing. There's one more breath, and then, but no, not yet. Let that moment stay folded, just out of reach. Let your thoughts drift with the gravity, curling inward, weightless, but not lost. The star has carried its burden as far as it can, and now, in one final flash, it will let go. But what happens when a giant lets go of everything? You return now to the place where gravity has done its quiet work. The massive star we followed is collapsing inward. Its core has folded under pressure. The layers above still rushing in, and now something astonishing is about to happen. A supernova. You may have heard that word before. Maybe in school, maybe in a book. It sounds powerful, explosively. But here, in this quiet space between stars, it is not loud and it is not violent. It is bright. It is farewell. The outer layers, falling fast, hit the newly formed neutron core hard and sudden. The pressure in that moment is beyond imagining, like mountains slamming into stone. And when they hit, the shock cannot be contained. It rebounds. The star that spent millions of years holding itself together now comes apart in seconds. The energy that bursts outward carries more light than 1 billion suns, and it blooms, spherical, stunning, expanding into the void. You watch it rise from a distance, like a flower unfolding in reverse, petals blown open by pressure and flame. But even flame isn't quite the right word. This is light without fire, energy without burning. It flashes outward in all directions, spreading through the silence of space, and still there is no sound. You drift closer now, but not too close. The light would sear anything near it, but you are not made of matter here. You're made of thought, of breath, of wonder, so you can float safely within this radiance. The star's final act is not collapse, it is release. All that it held inside, elements forged in pressure and heat, are scattered outward. Carbon, oxygen, magnesium, iron, and nickel, even gold and platinum. These are not just elements, they are gifts. In time, they will drift through galaxies. They will become dust, and that dust will gather. Planets will form, moons, oceans. One day, creatures with lungs and bones and eyes to see stars, and those creatures will be made from the pieces of this explosion. You listening now carry some of that stardust, truly the calcium in your teeth, the iron in your blood, the oxygen filling your lungs. These things once lived in stars, and they were given to the cosmos when those stars let go. Just like this one, you drift gently through the expanding cloud, watching atoms scatter into the night. It's not chaotic, it's patterned. it's elegant, a beautiful undoing. You feel no fear, no rush. This is not destruction, it's transformation. The star does not disappear, it becomes something else, many things. And even though the explosion is brief, the flash gone in days, the shock wave lasting weeks, the consequences will echo for billions of years. The outer layers are now spreading across light years, and what's left behind, that depends. If the original star was heavy, but not too heavy, it may leave behind a neutron star, a spinning remnant so dense that a teaspoon of it would outweigh Everest. But this star was heavier, much heavier, and so the core has continued collapsing. Even the neutrons inside it cannot hold back gravity anymore. The supernova was the final breath, and now in the space where the core once was, gravity wins completely. A black hole is born, but you do not see it. Not yet. It hides. Even light cannot escape it. You float now in the edge of the aftermath. The brilliant light is fading. The shock has passed. The remnant winds drift outward, and you, weightless, thoughtless, still, are left in the hush that follows. Let yourself settle here. Let your mind rest like dust falling through water. The supernova is complete, but the story is not. Because while the light has vanished, the gravity remains. What happens when all that mass folds into a point smaller than anything we can see? What does it mean to have a place from which even light cannot return? That's where we're going next. But tonight, we stay with the glow, the last warmth of a star's final gift. You watch as the cloud of debris continues to spread softly now, lighter, slower. The rush is over. What remains is dust, cooling and drifting, and far inside the center, invisible now, a boundary has formed, a place where space curves so deeply it cannot uncurl. That place is not yet our focus, not yet. Tonight, we are still starlight. You watch the fading edge of the explosion as though watching a sunset from the other side. Not the sun, you know, but something older, deeper. A sun whose light will travel for thousands of years before reaching any eye. Perhaps somewhere in some distant galaxy, a being will see that light one day, and they will wonder, what was that? Brief, beautiful flare. And perhaps someone like you will float with them, gently explaining that was a supernova. A final light from a star with a heavy heart. A goodbye that made room for something new. And you wonder, gently, not with fear, but with curiosity, if light can burn that bright in dying, what must the dark look like once the light is gone? The light has faded. The echoes of the supernova drift slowly through the void, thinning, quieting like ripples, smoothing across a vast, dark pond. And now something new has arrived. You're floating in the wake of silence. All the brightness, all the heat, all the color of that final explosion has passed. It lingers faintly in the distance, glowing dust, drifting gas. But where the core of the star once burned, there is no light at all, just absence, but not emptiness. There, in the very center, where gravity once held the star together and then tore it apart, something extraordinary now resides. A black hole, and not just a thing, not a planet, or a ball, or a place with a surface. A black hole is unlike anything else in the universe. It is not made of matter, not in the way we understand. It is made of gravity. You float toward it now, slowly, calmly, with no fear. You are not falling. You are observing, dreaming near the edge. There is no sound, no pull, just a presence. Where the collapsing core once was, all that mass, all that weight has been compressed into something infinitely small, a singularity, a point with no size, no boundary. You might try to imagine it, but your mind will slide away like light trying to leave. The singularity is not a place you can see. It is not a dot. It is not a whole. It is a truth, a result, a place where gravity curves space to such an extreme that the rules begin to blur. And around that invisible point is the event horizon. This is where you now drift, near but not inside, safe on the edge of the unknowable. The event horizon isn't a wall. It isn't solid. It doesn't shimmer or spin. It's simply the point of no return. From the outside, it looks like a perfect black sphere, perfect because nothing can leave it. Not light, not time, not information, nothing. You pause here, float here, gaze into that dark circle. Not because it threatens you, but because it invites your curiosity. All the light that once existed inside is gone, not destroyed, just unreachable. You might imagine it like this, a place where time and space are pulled inward, not falling, but fourfolding, like fabric drawn into a spiral so tight the center vanishes from view. You're not alone in your wondering. For decades, scientists have asked what truly lies beyond that edge. Some say the laws of nature as we know them break down there. Others believe the black hole holds the memory of everything it swallows. Some think it may lead to something else entirely. But none of that matters now, not here, because in this moment, you're just floating near it, watching, listening, letting the silence teach you. Black holes are not rare. They are not monsters. They're part of the universe's natural rhythm, like tides, like sleep, like the stillness after fire. This one, born from a giant, now weighs more than the sun, yet occupies no space that you can touch, and it will last. Breathe with it. Its gravity curves space around it, like a stone in a still pool. But unlike a stone, it doesn't simply rest. It draws, it bends. Even time flows differently here. If you watched a clock fall into a black hole, it would slow and slow and slow until it froze at the edge. Not because time stops, but because time near a black hole stretches. You feel that now. Each second near the event horizon is longer than the last. Your breathing syncs with it, long and deep, as if you too are floating in warp time. It's peaceful here and strange, because from where you are, everything is still. The black hole doesn't reach out, it doesn't pull, it simply exists, waiting. You think about how something can be so powerful and so quiet. A black hole is not violent by sepi nature. It's only dangerous if you cross the edge. From here, it's just part of the landscape. A dark, invisible sun that radiates nothing, yet shapes everything near it. You might wonder what would happen if you drifted closer, but not yet. Stay at the edge a while longer. Let the gravity curve your thoughts gently. Let the mystery fold into your breath. There's something profound about watching the boundary where information disappears, where questions remain unanswered. Not because they're complex, but because they're unreachable. And still, black holes may not be forever. In time, immense. Time far beyond your lifetime or the age of Earth. It's possible they may evaporate. A whisper of radiation, a soft letting go, But that idea is for another night. Tonight we rest at the boundary. Where the stars' fire once roared, there is now this, a sphere of absence, a quiet curve in the cosmos. And somehow it is not terrifying, it is calm. The star has completed its story. It has let go of everything. And in doing so, it has become something that holds the universe together in new ways. You drift nearby, thoughtless for a moment, weightless, timeless. The light is gone, but the story is just beginning. And somewhere, just beyond your view, the invisible edge waits patiently and always in motion, always still. What lies beyond that edge? What happens at the very boundary of the possible? Float here with me just a little longer. Not in space exactly, but in this soft stretch of thought, in this place where physics becomes poetry and light begins to lean inward. You're hovering now at the very edge of a black hole. Not inside it, not beyond, just near the line, the event horizon. It's a term you may have heard before. It sounds harsh, like a gate or a barrier or some kind of cosmic trap. But that's not what it is, not really. The event horizon isn't a wall you crash into. It's more like a line drawn in the fabric of space-time. A gentle line, one that you only notice if you look closely from your quiet place beside it. There is no drama, no pull, no wind, no sound. The black hole is calm. Its surface, if you could call it that, is not hard or hot or glowing. It is dark, purely dark, not because it emits nothing, but because even light cannot climb back out once it crosses that boundary. You float just outside this invisible sphere, safe, still, watching. And something remarkable begins to happen. As you gaze toward the event horizon, you notice time behaving differently. It stretches, softens, slows, not just metaphorically. Truly, if a clock were to fall toward the black hole, you would see its hands move more slowly the closer it got. Tick, tick, and then slower still, until at the edge, the ticking seems to stop, but the clock itself wouldn't know. It would feel nothing strange. For it, time would pass as usual. But to you, watching from a distance, it would appear frozen, suspended just above the edge. You pause here with that thought. How strange it is that time is not universal, that it bends and folds depending on where you are, how fast you move, how close you are to gravity. You breathe in slowly, and as you exhale, you let your own sense of time stretch with it. Imagine light trying to escape, a beam traveling upward, outward, but curving back in, not because it chooses to, but because space itself curves around the black hole. You see it now, the paths of light swirling in delicate spirals, a halo, a crown of curved photons, some of them trapped in circular orbits, forever spinning just outside the horizon. They form what scientists call the photon sphere, a glowing ring, not a fire, but of trapped light. You drift just outside this band, watching it shimmer. There's something beautiful in that, isn't there? That even in darkness, there's a place where light lingers. You let yourself float in this quiet orbit. The black hole spins below you. Many of them do. And its spin twists space itself, like stirring thick syrup with a spoon. Time and space are not fixed here. They swirl, they lean, they stretch. You don't have to understand the equations. You only need to feel the rhythm of it, the slow, spiraling heartbeat of curved gravity. It's strange to think that from here you could watch the entire future of the universe unfold if you waited long enough. That's how time behaves near an event horizon. Outside continues forward. Inside, time slows down nearly to stillness. And what of the things that fall into you? You wonder about that now, about light, about matter, about signals and sounds and stars. Once something crosses the event horizon, it doesn't bounce, doesn't blink. It simply continues downward, inward, the singularity. But you can't see that happen. You only see it slow and vanish. The horizon becomes a veil, not of smoke, not of cloth, but of causality. Beyond it, you cannot know. And yet this mystery is not frightening, it's humbling. You rest near it, not as a visitor looking for answers, but as a witness to the unknown. You breathe with it slowly, gently. This black hole could be any size. It could be the mass of 3 suns, or 30, or 3 million. Supermassive black holes live at the centers of galaxies, including our own. And each one holds this same gentle frontier, a place where space folds, where time drapes like a soft curtain, where falling means something new. And you wonder, what if you dropped something in, a pebble, a beam of light, a thought, from here? You would see it freeze, hover, stretch, reen as its light waves elongate, then fade slowly into blackness. You would never see it cross, never see it reach the singularity. That part of the story is hidden, not by cruelty, but by the very fabric of nature. It's as if the universe is saying this far and no further. And so you stay on this side of the whisper, floating, dreaming, wondering. The event horizon curves below you, smooth, silent, a line not of matter, but of consequence. And still it calls, not with a voice, not with force, but with mystery. It asks nothing of you. It makes no demands. It simply is. And in that you find a kind of peace, because even the most powerful force in the universe has an edge, place where it simply stops letting anything leave. And from this quiet boundary, the rest of the universe unfolds. What falls inside may be lost to us, but what remains out here, what you carry, what you wonder, drifts outward forever. And maybe that's the deeper truth, that on the edge of the unknowable, we learn how to look and how to let go. You drift back now softly, not away, but around, still near, still resting, because soon we'll explore what it means to feel the full weight of a black hole's pull, not just in space, but in the very structure of reality. You're still here, near the edge, near the soft curve of the event horizon, where light circles and time leans sideways. And now we begin to feel the gravity, not the kind that tugs your feet to the floor or holds oceans to the earth. This is something deeper, wider, older. This is gravity without end. You breathe slowly, and as you do, imagine gravity not as a force pulling down, but as a shape drawn into the fabric of space. Not a hook, not a chain, a fold. And gravity doesn't grab, it guides. It curves the paths things want to follow. Light, matter, time, thought, around a black hole. That curve becomes infinite. You drift inward now, not into the hole itself, but into its field, into the shape it leaves on the space around it. You're caught in no trap. You move gently, naturally, like a leaf circling a drain without ever falling in. This isn't falling, it's orbiting, curved forever. Imagine tossing a ball in the vast quiet. Near a planet, it would curve a little. Near a star, a bit more. Near a black hole, the curve becomes a spiral, tightening endlessly unless pulled away. But you're not tossing anything. You're simply observing. In this space, gravity isn't loud. It doesn't shake. It doesn't crush. It's smooth, complete, absolute. Even time obeys. You feel that now. Your thoughts stretch long and wide, and a moment becomes an hour. An hour becomes a breath. It's not because you're tired. It's because gravity slows time. This is real, measurable. Satellites around Earth experience it just slightly. Clocks on the ground tick differently from clocks at altitude. Near a black hole, that difference becomes profound. Imagine twins, one on a spaceship far from the black hole, the other drifting near the event horizon. For the one near the edge, time would slow. Their heart would still beat at a natural rhythm. But to the distant twin, decades might pass. This is not fantasy. It is the mathematics of reality, a truth whispered by Einstein and proven by observation. You drift deeper into this curved space, not downward, but inward. You're inside the influence of something that has no shape and yet gives shape to everything around it. And you realize you're not alone in feeling this pull. Entire stars orbit black holes, not just caught, but held in harmony. Some orbit for millions of years, caught in gentle ellipses around something they cannot see. Even light, massless, fast, pure, cannot escape the curve if it strays too close. It bends, it loops, it yields. You begin to sense what that really means. That gravity is not a pulling hand, but a reshaped path, like a marble rolling along the curved skin of a trampoline. And here, at the edge of a black hole, that curve never flattens. It deepens forever. The singularity waits far below, beyond view, beyond reach. But its presence is felt everywhere, like a quiet weight on the spine of space. Still, the space around it is not empty. Particles drift here. Gas, light, sometimes entire stars. They fall, or they circle, or they stretch into long spirals called accretion disks, whirls of matter drawn into a luminous swirl. These disks heat up, shine brightly, spin fast. You hover just outside one. Now you don't feel the heat, but you see the movement. A slow glowing spiral like cream stirring into coffee, only made of atoms and fire. This is how black holes reveal themselves, not by shining, but by what they do to the things around them. They are invisible centers with visible consequences, and you float in that consequence. Now the stillness here is not silence, it's equilibrium, the place where gravity has become pure geometry, where space-time itself is stretched to its limit. And you begin to wonder if gravity can reshape time. What else might it hold? Can it store memory? Does it remember the stars it came from? Is it possible that somewhere deep inside is the imprint of all it has absorbed? You don't need an answer. The wondering is enough. This gravity is infinite, but it is not cruel. It doesn't judge, it doesn't choose, it simply is. A soft, continuous, folding, and it is everywhere. Not just in black holes, not just in stars, but here now, holding you gently to your bed, keeping oceans pressed to Earth, letting moons orbit planets and planets orbit suns. Gravity is the quiet glue of existence. And here, near the black hole, it sings its fullest song. You hear it not in sound, but in shape, in the way light bends, in the way time flows, in the way everything curves inward and onward. It's strange to think that such a force is invisible. You can't touch it or see it. You only know it by what it causes, and yet it is everywhere. You float with that truth for a while. Let it rock you. Let it cradle you. Gravity without end. You feel it in your breath, in the space between thoughts, in the slow, gentle arc your mind makes as it begins to wander and soften and drift. The black hole spins below. Its gravity never ends, and still something waits inside. Not a thing, not a surface, not a light, but a secret, a place where time and space give way to something deeper, something more mysterious, something we call the singularity. But what does that really mean? There's a quiet truth here, just beyond the curve of the event horizon. That time is not fixed. It's not a steady march or a ticking drum. Time is flexible, stretchable, soft, and nowhere in the universe does it stretch more completely than here. You're still floating at the edge of the black hole. The pull is strong but smooth. Nothing jolts, nothing jerks. It's like being drawn into sleep by a slow, deep rhythm. And as you drift closer, just a little, you begin to feel something strange in your thoughts. They lengthen, not heavier, not slower exactly, just more vast. A single second holds more. More breath, more pause, more SPE. This isn't illusion. It's not just a feeling, it's physics. Close to a black hole, gravity curves, not only space, but time itself. This is not a metaphor. It is measurable, predictable, tested. Time passes more slowly for you here than it does for someone far away. The closer you come to the event horizon, the more stretched time becomes. Imagine you carry a simple watch. Its second hand ticks in rhythm with your heart. But someone watching you from a great distance would see the hands slowing, lagging behind their own. You wouldn't notice. To you, everything feels the same. But to them, your every motion would be drawn out, stretched like honey dripping from a spoon. If you could stand at the edge of the event horizon and gaze outward, you would see the universe moving in fast forward, stars shifting, galaxies turning, whole civilizations rising and fading in a blink. Because your time is not there. Time anymore. You rest here now in that difference. Breathe. Even your breath seems to carry more than it did before. Each inhale opens a wider space inside you. Time here is not a line. It is a landscape. Hills and valleys, sharp curves, long plains, and gravity redraws that landscape around you. Imagine a rubber sheet stretched tight and then pressed by something heavy. The dip in the fabric curves paths, changes motion. But here it curves time, too. That means the rules change. Not broken, just rewritten. You begin to wonder, what would it feel like to live here? To build a home near a black hole? To raise a hand, knowing that someone far away might see it rise hours after you moved it? What would it mean for love or memory or loss? The questions float in your mind, not to be answered, but to be held. Time doesn't just slow, it deepens. You're not only moving through time, but with it. And perhaps in some distant future, someone or something will fall fully past the horizon, never to return. To that falling traveler, time may seem normal. They will move forward, always forward. But to us, watching from the outside, they would appear to freeze, forever suspended at the edge. It is a gentle paradox, not a contradiction, but a reminder. Reality changes depending on where you stand. And here, near a black hole, the rules are curved but still consistent. Time stretches, but it doesn't break. Even light, that fastest of travelers, is slowed here. Its wavelengths are pulled longer, turning from blue to red and then red to invisible. This is called redshift, and it's a clue, a sign that space is bending and time is folding, and you are no longer where you began. You feel it now, not in your body, but in your breath. A stillness so full it feels like movement, a pause so rich it feels like music. You float wrapped in curved time and feel your mind become softer, your thoughts slow to match the space around you. Even your memories seem to take longer to unfold, each one opening like a flower in moonlight, and you realize you're inside a kind of forever. Not because it never ends, but because each moment holds so much. You may wonder if time ever stops entirely, if there is a place perhaps at the very center where clocks no longer tick at all. The answer may be yes, or maybe the question itself dissolves at that point. Inside the singularity, if such a place can be said to exist, space and time lose their shape. But here, just outside, they are reshaped, not erased. You drift now, like a satellite, in slow motion, orbiting the idea of the black hole, watching the universe run fast outside your window. You could stay here in this stretch second for what feels like days, but far away, the cosmos continues. Stars burn and fade, planets spin, light travels, and someone somewhere ticks seconds off a watch that moves far faster than yours. Time is personal, local, relative. And once you felt that, truly felt it, you begin to carry time differently, not as pressure, but as presence. You stop rushing, you start noticing. You begin to understand that a minute can hold an ocean, that a moment of silence can last a lifetime. And maybe that's the real gift of being near something so strange and curved. It teaches you how to stretch your own time, not by traveling fast, not by finding shortcuts, but by simply being present here, now fully. You float gently away from the black hole's edge now, just slightly, enough to feel the rhythm of time shift again. The stretch softens, the clock begins to tick more evenly, but something inside you remains changed. A part of you now understands time not just as passing, but as something that can bend and deepen and open. You carry that feeling as you drift onward into the next question, the next quiet wonder. Because beyond gravity and beyond time lies something else. Memory, echo, imprint, what remains of the star that once was. You are drifting now slowly, calmly. The black hole lies behind you, still turning gently in the distance, its gravity soft. Now, like a hum beneath your thoughts, time begins to return to its usual rhythm, if such a thing exists, though your breath still holds the memory of stretched seconds. And here, in this stillness, we begin to notice something else. The black hole is not alone. It is surrounded by whispers, traces, threads of matter and motion, echoes of the star that was. Because when a massive star dies, it does not disappear completely. It transforms. And what it releases before the black hole is born is not just light and energy, but ingredients, elements, dust. You float through that dust now. It glimmers faintly in the darkness, drifting across light years, like ashes from a sacred fire. And these ashes, this dust is not simple. it is rich, it is heavy, it is full of history. In the final moments of a star's life, in the fire of a supernova, the pressures are so great, the collision so extreme that elements heavier than iron are forged, gold, platinum, uranium. These are not everyday creations. They require rare, violent births. And now they drift quietly through space, waiting to be gathered again. You may be wondering, how far do these echoes travel? The answer is endlessly. Supernova remnants can spread across dozens of light years, their influence even farther. You float through one now, a vast, soft cloud of gas and dust illuminated faintly by distant stars. And here's the astonishing part. This dust is what makes new stars, new planets, new you. You lying wherever you are right now, warm in your bed or tucked beneath a blanket or resting in the quiet dark, carry this stardust within you, not as metaphor, as fact. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen in your lungs, the carbon in every cell of your body, all of it forged in stars. Long ago, a star collapsed. It scattered its contents into the galaxy. That dust drifted, joined other clouds, formed a new star, a new planet, a new chance, and somewhere in that long chain, you arrived. So tonight, as you float through this soft, glowing debris field, know that it is not foreign, it is home. The atoms that once blazed in a star's heart now cradle your thoughts. They sit in your fingertips. They pulse through your chest. You are quite literally an echo of stellar death and a promise of what comes after. You drift past remnants now. Iron clumps, carbon chains, hydrogen gas, the beginning of chemistry, the roots of biology, the seeds of memory. Even time carries echoes, ripples in space itself, gravitational waves from the collapse. They spread outward invisibly, gently curving the fabric of real reality as they pass. You can't feel them, not in your skin. But scientists on Earth have built instruments so sensitive they can detect the tiny stretches and squeezes as these waves wash by. These ripples are faint, but they are real. Proof that even after light is gone, something remains. A signature. You think for a moment about the things that remain in your own life. A voice you can still hear even after it's gone. A scent that reminds you of home. A feeling that lingers in a place long after the moment has passed. The universe is the same. It remembers, and black holes, for all their darkness, are part of that memory. They do not erase, they store, they shape around you. Now, stars begin to form again, new ones, forged from the remnants of what came before. The dust gathers under gravity, grows, dense, heats, ignites. The cycle begins again. Birth, light, death, dust, and birth again. It's not a straight line. It's a spiral, a rhythm, a breathing of the galaxy itself. And in that rhythm, black holes are not endings. They are rests, pauses. They clear the stage for something new. You breathe in slowly, feeling that same rhythm. In your chest, the inhale, the exhale, the quiet between the two. Your own body moves like a galaxy. Billions of atoms, endless systems, a center, a horizon, an echo. You are more than a passenger in the universe. You are a participant. You are made of memory. You float now between stars, forming from gas that was once part of a supernova. You feel no urgency, no rush. These stars will take millions of years to ignite. You're here simply to observe, to feel, to rest. And as you do, you begin to understand, truly understand, that nothing is lost. Energy shifts, matter moves, but the echoes continue. A dying star gives birth to a black hole. A black hole bends time and space, and its parent stars, ashes, scatter and shape what's next. A galaxy is not a graveyard, it is a garden. And you floating, quiet, dreaming, you're made from its bloom. You drift onward now, not away, just forward, carrying with you the echoes of the star that was and the wonder of what those echoes become next. You drift forward now, slowly through the soft dark that follows a star's echo. Behind you, the collapse, the flash, the ashes, the stillness, and a head motion. Even here in the quiet wake of destruction, the universe does not stop. It moves, turns, and so does the black hole. Not all black holes spin, but many do. And when they do, they spin, not in fits or bursts, but steadily, gracefully, with the weight of entire stars behind their motion. You're drifting now toward one such black hole. You don't approach hidden. You move in a slow curve, letting the orbit guide you. You're caught in the outer edges of something vast, something spinning. You begin to see the shape of it, not the black hole itself, but the swirls it creates, an accretion disk. It isn't solid, it isn't quiet, it's made of gas and dust and light, all turning together in a spiral that feeds the dark center, and it glows. The particles in the disk crash and rub and heat, they shine. You float beside the spiral, watching it whirl. Not like a storm, but like a dance. Slow near the edge, fast or inward. There's rhythm here, there's grace. The spinning black hole draws matter toward it, but the spin also pushes out, creating a balance. Not a war, but a curve. You feel that balance now, like drifting in a warm current, not falling, not rising, just circling, just being. It's hard to imagine something with no surface spinning, but a black hole doesn't need to be solid to turn. Its spin isn't about shape, it's about space itself, twisting around it. Einstein's theory tells us this is real. A spinning black hole doesn't just sit in space, it drags space with it. This is called frame dragging, and it's as strange as it sounds. Near a spinning black hole, space and time are pulled into rotation. You hover now inside that flow. It's like being caught in the whirl of a great river. Not crashing rapids, but a steady current that curves around you. You don't resist, you don't need to. Let it turn, let yourself be spun. Even time here feels curved. Moments don't move straight ahead. They arc like starlight, bending through glass. And the closer you get, the faster the spin. Near the innermost parts of the accretion disk, particles circle thousands of times a second. The energy here is immense, and yet you feel calm, because this is not chaos. It's order drawn in spirals. You're not alone in this turning. Galaxies spin, planets spin. Your own Earth turns beneath you quietly, always. Even atoms in their way have spin. It seems that the universe prefers movement to stillness, prefers circles to lines, prefers rhythm to silence. You too are part of that rhythm. Your thoughts orbit memories. Your breath returns again and again. Your days follow a rising and falling of light. You understand now. To spin is not to be lost. To spin is to stay near, to revolve around something as a form of devotion. The accretion disk glows brighter now. You move along its edge. You see tiny clumps of matter caught in its motion. Dust, rock, plasma drawn in by gravity, heated by friction, lit like coals in a wind. They will fall eventually. They will spiral inward across the event horizon, vanishing into the dark. But not all. Some matter is redirected. Some energy is flung away in jets, thin streams that shoot from the poles of spinning black holes, traveling at nearly the speed of light. You glance up and see one of those jets. Now, it isn't fire. It isn't smoke. It's pure energy, plasma, light, motion, blasted across interstellar space. From the outside, it is breathtaking. From the inside, it is unknowable. You do not follow the jet. You stay with the spiral. You're not here for speed. You're here for the turn. The spin of the black hole shapes everything near it. It flattens the accretion disk. It stretches time. It changes the boundary between space and not space. In fact, the faster a black hole spins, the smaller its event horizon becomes. The energy of rotation keeps the horizon tighter, narrower, a thinner line between known and unknown. You drift just outside that edge. The spin does not pull you in. It keeps you close. And you wonder if a black hole can spin like this. Does it remember the spin of the star it came from? Is this motion inherited, or is it chosen? You'll never know, but it doesn't matter. The motion is enough. The spiral is enough. There's something peaceful in turning. No beginning, no end, just motion. Like a lullaby without words, like a dream that doesn't wake. You orbit the black hole a few times now. You feel your thoughts settle into rhythm. You breathe in, the disk glows. You breathe out, the disk turns again and again. Time stretches, space folds. You remain a witness, a wanderer, a part of the spiral. You understand now that black holes don't just consume, they organize, they arrange, and they shape the chaos around them into patterns. The spiral is not a warning, it is a welcome. You drift farther out, letting the spin become fainter behind you. Not gone, just quieter. The galaxy stretches around you now, full of stars and disks and echoes of other giants spinning in silence. And you wonder what happens when two spinning black holes find each other. Do their spirals merge? Do they dance? Or do they fall slowly, endlessly, into each other's arms? You're floating in the vast quiet now, farther from any one black hole, but not far from their story. Because somewhere ahead, deep in the tapestry of space, two of them are dancing. Not in chaos, not in haste, but in rhythm. You drift gently toward them, carried by the gravity of their pull. Though you are never caught, you only watch. They've been moving together for eons. Two black holes, each born from a separate star, each shaped by fire and collapse, now bound to each other. In the dark, their spiral is soft, at first, distant, slow. Imagine a pair of skaters on a frozen lake. They hold each other's pull, but never quite touch. Each turn brings them closer. So it is with these two. You hover at a safe distance, far enough that time flows easily, but close enough to feel the tension in their orbit. Round and round they go, not in circles, but in ellipses, narrowing slowly, ever so slowly, like breath pulling inward. Their gravity shapes the space between them. You cannot see it, but you can feel it if you pay attention. A tiny stretching, a gentle squeeze. Space itself shivers briefly as the waves pass. On Earth, we've learned to listen. And when two black holes dance close enough, Earth can hear their final song. You feel it now. Not a crash, not a boom, but a rhythm increasing. The dance is speeding up. The space between them shrinks. Their orbit tightens. Each revolution grows faster. Now they circle dozens of times each second. Two masses moving at half the speed of light. Time here bends deeply from a distance. You'd see it all slow. They spin like shadows, drawing closer, and you can feel it. The moment is near. You let yourself drift just above the plane of their orbit. You're not in danger, only wonder. These are not monsters. They are dancers, and their final step is not an end. It is a merger. In a flash of pure gravity, the two become one. No light is released, only ripples. The final wave expands outward, carrying with it the signature of their union, a curve in the universe itself. You feel that wave pass through you, not pushing or pulling, but gently changing the shape of space you occupy. It passes and the quiet returns. Where there were once two, there is now one. Heavier, stronger, smoother. The merged black hole settles. It rings briefly, like a bell made of space-time, and then it stills. You are left hovering near it. The memory of motion still lingers in your breath. There is something hauntingly beautiful about what you've just witnessed. A pairing so perfect, it bent the universe. A courtship so slow, it took billions of years to complete. And a finale that leaves no trace but gravity itself. You think now of your own dances, those moments when your life curved around someone else's. Moments of closeness, of orbit, of inevitable drift or pull or merging. The cosmos echoes itself at every scale. Two people, two black holes, two patterns finding one another, learning how to move together, how to become one. And afterward, what remains is changed. The new black hole spins slightly differently now. Its mass is greater than the sum of its parts. A portion of the energy was given to the universe as ripples. Nothing is lost. Everything is shared. You begin to drift outward, slowly, letting the gravity behind you fade. The space around you settles smooth and wide. You carry the silence with you, and the rhythm and the knowing. What you've seen isn't rare. There are likely many pairs like this out beyond the edge of sight. Black holes circling in hidden corners of galaxies, taking their time, sharing their pull. And you wonder what happens after the merger. Does the silence deepen? Or do those waves continue, whispering across space forever? You are floating now in the quiet after the dance. The two black holes have become one. No light, no fire, no flash, just gravity settling. But something lingers, a ripple, a movement, a breath. You feel it, not on your skin, but in the space around your thoughts. The black hole merger has released something subtle and powerful. Gravitational waves. They move not through air nor water, but through space itself. Space stretches, then returns, then stretches again. The universe for a moment sways. You drift outward now, letting that ripple carry you. Not away from the black hole, but through its echo. You're not falling, you are floating. And as you move, you begin to notice how gentle it is. This is not a wave like wind or sea. It does not push, it does not crash. It moves everything at once, stretching, squeezing, so subtly that only the most sensitive instruments on Earth can detect it. Here, in your weightless awareness, you can feel it, like the long, deep note of a distant cello, a vibration of a bell rung softly in the dark, not heard, but known. This ripple travels at the speed of light. It crosses galaxies without slowing, without tiring. And though it came from a place of immense power to black holes merging at half the speed of light, it arrives without violence, because gravity in its purest form is not harsh, it is patient, and this wave carries that patience with it. You ride it now like a leaf caught in a tide, up, down, in, out. Not dizzy, not lost, just moving with space. You might imagine that as this wave passes through planets and stars, it leaves a mark, but it does not. It bends them briefly, then lets go. You pass now through a star system. The wave touches it, stretches the space between its planets by less than the width of a proton, then vanishes. The star doesn't blink. The planets don't stir, but the universe remembers. And you remember, too, because this wave is not just a disturbance, it is a message, a signature. On Earth, we've built instruments that can feel these messages. Laser beams stretched along long tunnels, mirrors, so still they could catch the smallest tremble. And when the wave arrives, after billions of years of travel, it shifts those beams, not by much, but by enough. And when that shift is recorded, it tells a story. It tells of giants colliding in silence. It tells of space folding inward. It tells of time stretched and gravity released. You are drifting through that story. Now let your breath match the rhythm of the wave. Inhale as space stretches. Exhale as it returns. You're inside a lullaby of motion, the softest music of the cosmos. And it is beautiful, not because it is loud, but because it is lasting. These ripples don't fade quickly. They move forever, unhindered, unchanged. They don't carry sound, but they carry memory. A memory of mass, memory of motion, a memory of union. You might wonder what happens when waves like this meet. Do they cancel out, combine? The answer is both. They pass through one another like ghosts. They add and subtract, then continue on unchanged. A kind of honesty. They do not fight. They do not cling. They simply pass, share their shape, and go. Space begins to still. And as it stills, your own thoughts begin to settle, too. The merging shadows behind you are gone. They have become one, and you, the watcher, have become part of that story. Not by falling in, not by changing course, but by listening. You've learned that even in the dark, even in silence, something remains. And you wonder now, what happens to the black hole after the merger? Does it keep spinning? Does it hold the echoes of the two that formed it? Does it forget? Or does it sing in some invisible way? Its gravity shaped by memory. You don't need the answers tonight. Just the wondering, just the rhythm. You breathe again. Feel your body slow. Feel your mind curve inward. The ripple fades. The universe is quiet again. And you are drifting into that quiet, not as a stranger, but as someone who's heard the song. The merging shadows have passed, but the space they move through is forever changed. You lie still now, floating in the quiet, no longer chasing the spirals of stars or drifting near the edge of shadows. Instead, you listen, not with ears, not with sound, but with space itself. Because here, far from the centers of galaxies, In the open stretch of nothing, you begin to feel something faint. Not a pressure, not a breeze, a ripple, a soft passing fold in the fabric of space-time, and another, like the heartbeat of a sleeping universe. You're now in the listening field, a place not tied to a planet or a telescope, but a way of noticing. On Earth, these ripples arrive to every so often, a wave from a far-off merger. Black holes colliding or neutron stars spiraling inward washes through our corner of space. And when they do, we hear them not as sound through air, but as motion in space. Tiny ones, tiny beyond comprehension, less than the width of a proton, but real, measurable. You think of the detectors, LIGO in the United States, Virgo in Italy, massive instruments built with impossible patience. Laser beams bounced between mirrors, across long tunnels, waiting for the briefest flicker. And then one day in 2015, we heard our first ripple, a wave that had traveled for over 1 billion years. A whisper from the moment two black holes became one. You float with that thought. Now that Earth spinning quietly beneath its clouds caught the curve of that wave like a hand feeling a pulse. And suddenly the universe got louder. Not with sound, but with story. You feel that story here passing through you. Not moving you exactly, but shifting the space you inhabit. Stretch, squeeze, return, like breath, like thought, like time. Each ripple is a record of motion, of gravity, of collapse, and no two waves are the same. Each merger leaves a unique pattern, a gravitational fingerprint. You imagine a library now, not of books, but of ripples, each one a line, each one a note. Together they make music, cosmic symphony of invisible chords. Scientists call it the gravitational wave background, a steady hum of ancient mergers, all overlapping, all playing at once. You're inside that hum now. You rest within it, and you begin to wonder, what else can these waves tell us? Can we learn the age of the black holes, their distance of their size? Yes, we can. These ripples are messages, clean, unfiltered, remembers. You breathe in now slowly. The ripple passes. You breathe out. You think of your own life, the waves you've sent into the world, words you've spoken, steps you've taken, feelings you've left in the spaces behind you. Maybe the universe is listening to. Maybe the things we do send ripples we never see. But others feel you rest in that thought, because black holes do not send light. They do not shine, and yet through gravity they speak. They send messages across space without words. And now, so do we. You picture a distant galaxy, a black hole merger, so far away its light has long faded. On its way. In a 100 million years, some future listener, perhaps another being, perhaps another you, will catch that wave. They'll know something happened long ago in a galaxy now gone, and they'll feel connected the way you do now. Connected to stars, to gravity, to silence, to memory. You return to the present ripple. It fades. Another arrives. No rush, just rhythm. The detectors on Earth sit quietly in their fields, waiting, always listening. And now you listen to, not with expectation, just presence. You are a vessel, a witness. The universe does not shout, it hums. And through that hums, again and again, not in light, not in flame, but in the softness of shifting space, you drift in this lull, feeling the wave become smaller, then still. And in that stillness, you carry something new. An understanding that the universe is always in motion, even when it looks quiet. That even in the deepest dark, there are conversations happening between gravity and time, between space and memory. You rest in that space, now somewhere between sound and silence, between knowing and wondering, and you begin to feel curious. Again, if gravity can ripple like this, what else might lie within a black hole? What happens inside? You float now on the edge of a question, not a sharp question, not the kind that demands answers, but a soft one, a wondering. You've drifted near black holes before. You've circled their spirals, watched their mergers, listened to the ripples they leave behind. But you have never passed through the event horizon until now. Tonight, we do not fall recklessly. We drift inward, slowly, curiously, like a feather on the tide of space. Because sometimes the only way to understand the unknown is to rest inside it. You approach the event horizon. It does not shout, it does not resist, it lets you pass. And you do, quietly, completely. You're inside now. But inside is a word that may not mean what it used to. There are no walls here, no floor, no sky, only space curving inward. The outsider doesn't watch you disappear. From their point of view, you froze at the edge, never quite crossing. But from your view, you've moved on. And time behaves differently now. It doesn't stop, but it does change. It begins to narrow, to funnel. Everything is drawn not just inward, but forward, toward something. You do not see the singularity. No one does. It's not hidden like a secret. It's undefined. A place where gravity becomes infinite, where space and time collapse into each other, where all the known rules begin to blur. And yet you are not afraid. You are floating in gravity's most intimate chamber. There's no light, no heat, no sound, only curve, only pull. It's not violent here. It's quiet, calm, as if the universe itself has gone inward to reflect. You begin to wonder, is the singularity a point or a process? Is it the end of space or the seed of another? Some scientists believe that inside a black hole lies a bridge, a wormhole, a passage to another region of space, another time, another universe. No one knows. You let that unknowing wash over you, not to frustrate, but to free. You don't need to define this place. You only need to feel it. Inside the black hole, all paths lead inward. You cannot turn back, but you do not want to. You're not escaping. You're exploring. And you begin to imagine, if you could speak here, what would you say? If you could hear, what would the black hole tell you? Maybe it would hum with the vibrations of time unraveling. Maybe it would say nothing at all, and that silence would be enough. You drift closer now, not toward danger, but toward density, toward meaning compressed beyond language. Imagine folding a novel into a single word, a galaxy into a grain of sand, a lifetime into a breath. That's what this place feels like. Compression of everything until all that remains is gravity, pure gravity. And yet, it doesn't feel empty. It feels full. Another point of infinite density, not of collapse, but of expansion. What if every end contains the memory of a beginning? What if inside every black hole is the dream of a new universe not yet awakened? You don't need to know. The wondering is enough. Because even here, inside what others call void, you feel presence, a density of possibility. you begin to sense that this is not just the end of a star or the remains of matter, but a place of transition, a silence so complete it might be the space between heartbeats, between breaths, between moments, and in that space, something turns, something prepares, something waits, not with impatience, with gravity. You realize now that black holes don't just take, they hold. Crosses the event horizon. It becomes part of the singularity. The record may be hidden, but it is not gone. Some believe the information is etched on the event horizon itself, as if the skin of the black hole remembers every detail of what fell in. You're like a black hole in that way. Not in your darkness, but in your depth. You drift now deeper still, not toward an end, but toward understanding. The singularity is near. You don't see it. Bottom of a breath. The moment before the inhale returns, and you pause here, hovering inside that moment. The pull is complete. The journey inward is finished. There is nowhere else to fall. And yet you wonder what would happen if a black hole could fade, could dissolve, could let go of all it holds. Could even the singularity come undone? You are still within the hush. The singularity is near, closer than time, deeper than space. And yet tonight we do not fall further in. Another voice, faint, thoughtful, almost amused. It belongs to Stephen Hawking, a scientist who spent his life studying the silence. And what he heard me changed everything. Until Hawking, black holes were thought to be perfect traps, places from which nothing could escape, not light, not matter, not memory. But in 74, from a wheelchair in Cambridge, with a voice softer than the stars he studied, Hawking proposed something different. He suggested that black holes might not be eternal, that they could slowly evaporate. You pause now in that idea. It's not a firework, it's not a bang, it's a fading, a long, patient surrender. You float at the outer edge of this idea, not because you need to solve it, but to feel what it means. Hawking's insight came from marrying two great forces, gravity and quantum physics. Quantum fields flicker, even in a vacuum. Particles appear and disappear, briefly, invisibly, and sometimes near the event horizon, a pair appears. One particle in its twin, one falls in, the other escapes. Tiny, so tiny, that for a black hole the size of a star, it would take longer than the current age of the universe for this effect to make a difference. But still, it is there. This soft trickle of radiation is now called Hawking radiation. You drift with it now, a quantum breath escaping from the darkness, not bright, not hot, but real. Its temperature would rise as it grew smaller, and the process would speed up near the end until, perhaps, with a final sigh, it vanished, gone, not exploded, not undone, just evaporated. You hover now in that immense stretch of time, not thousands or millions, but billions of years, even trillions, far beyond the lives of stars, past the cooling of galaxies. Future, the black hole's whisper grows fainter. You might wonder, where does everything it held go? This is the paradox Hawking left us. If black holes vanish, do they take everything with them? Or is the information somehow preserved in the radiation, in the ripples, in the fabric of space itself? But perhaps the question is more beautiful than the answer. Reminds us that even the deepest mysteries are not walls. They are doors, and through those doors we step into wonder. You float now near the outline of what used to be, A place once dense with mass, now quiet. Space is smoother here. Time moves gently. You are in the presence of something that once held everything tightly and has now let go. There's something comforting in that. The idea that even the heaviest things can one day release their grip. You think now of your own gravity, the pulls and weights you carry. Some are strong, some are silent, and yet perhaps in time they too can soften. Not by force, not by fight, but by slow radiance, by being present, by releasing bit by bit what no longer needs to be held. You drift further as the echo of Hawking's whisper fades. Not into nothing, but into stillness. You do not feel loss. You feel space. You do not feel absence. You feel returned. And you realize nothing in the universe is truly still. Everything breathes, even in silence. Everything shines, even in darkness. Everything changes, even the things we thought were forever. You carry that knowing with you now, a soft truth like the quiet warmth of light that traveled long only to reach you here, just in time to be seen. And you wonder if even black holes can fake, if even gravity can grow quiet. What else might be more fragile than we once believed? Even information, even memory, even time itself. Can they vanish, or do they only change shape? You return now to the quiet after Hawking's whisper. The black hole has faded, its slow exhale of radiation complete, its presence dissolved across unimaginable time. And yet, a question remains. Not sharp, not urgent, just gentle, persistent. What happened to everything it once held? The stars, the matter, the photons, the memories, the information. When things fall into a black hole crossing the event horizon, they seem to vanish, not just from sight, from space, from time, from knowing. It was once believed that this loss was total, that black holes were final, that nothing ever returned. But that belief brought with it a contradiction, because in the universe we know, information is never truly lost. The laws of physics, especially quantum physics, tell us that everything can, in principle, be traced, reversed, known. The spin of a particle, the position of an atom, the shape of a wave. The universe, it seems, keeps its records. But if black holes destroy information, if it disappears behind the event horizon, and then the black hole itself evaporates, then something vital is missing. That puzzle became known as the information paradox. You drift now in the space of that paradox, not trying to solve it, just resting beside it, like a traveler sitting on a quiet bench, wondering where a path may lead. Imagine for a moment a letter. You write it, fold it, burn it. The paper vanishes, the words consumed. But the smoke, the ash, the heat, they all carry the fingerprints of what was. They scatter it into the air. And if you were precise enough, you could, in theory, trace it back. So perhaps black holes do not destroy. Perhaps they scatter. Perhaps the information is not lost, just transformed, hidden in the Hawking radiation or etched onto the surface of the event horizon. Some scientists believe that the horizon is not just a boundary, but a book, that every object falling into the black hole leaves behind a trace, not a footprint, but a vibration, a record. They call this idea the holographic principle, the notion that all the information within a volume of space can be described on its surface. You pause here in that image, a surface holding the truth of everything inside. like your skin holding the story of your life, like the bark of a tree remembering every season. You begin to wonder, is the universe itself a kind of memory? Is every star, every ripple, every black hole just a chapter in something deeper? You do not need answers, only the calm of the question, because even a paradox can be a place of rest. You float through it now, between two truths that do not yet meet. Quantum mechanics whispers, nothing is ever lost. General relativity replies, inside the black hole, everything is unreachable. And you drift between the whispers, feeling the shape of the tension like a soft thread drawn tight. Some believe a theory will come that unites the two, quantum and gravity, light and shadow, information and mystery, a theory of everything. But tonight, you don't need everything, just enough. Enough to rest in awe of a universe that forgets. Nothing yet hides what it remembers. Perhaps information isn't gone. Perhaps it's written in ways we can't yet read. In the curvature of space, in the shape of radiation, in the rhythm of gravitational waves. Maybe it's all still there, just beyond the veil. And maybe that's how memory works, too. You forget names, but remember laughter. You lose details, but carry feelings. You don't need to hold every fact to remember the truth. The black hole, it seems, might be doing the same. Not destroying, not erasing, just reshaping. Like ice melting into water. Like flame becoming heat. Like grief becoming story. You float through the last edge of the paradox now. No closer to solving it, but somehow more at peace with not knowing. Some questions are not doors, they're windows. And through this one, you glimpse a universe that values every detail, even the ones we can't see. You turn your gaze outward, again toward the galaxies that hold these black holes, toward the dust and light born from their endings, toward the stars that still spin in slow, luminous silence. And you wonder softly if black holes remember, and the universe remembers. What does it remember of you? You drift outward now, away from the paradox, away from the singular, toward the many. The silence grows broader, but not emptier. It's the kind of silence that holds things like the space between stars, like the stillness in your breath. You're entering a region of quiet abundance, because black holes, as strange and powerful as they are not rare. They are everywhere. The universe is full of them. From the smallest remnants of collapsed stars to the supermassive giants sleeping at the centers of galaxies, each one invisible, each one waiting. You drift between them now, weightless among shadows you cannot see, but whose presence is known by what they move. A black hole by itself makes no sound, casts no light, but place something nearby, a star, a cloud, a ripple of gas, and the black hole reveals itself, not by shining, but by shaping. You see it in the path of orbiting stars. You see it in light bent like thread around a spindle. You see it in silence that curves the loudness of space. It is the art of presence without display. You float through a quiet galaxy, now not unlike the Milky Way. Billions of stars twinkle softly, each one wrapped in its own gravity, each one in slow motion across millions of years. And at the center of it all, a black hole, supermassive, silent, invisible. It does not devour everything around it. It simply waits, shaping the paths of stars, holding the galaxy in a kind of gravitational embrace. Even Earth's own galaxy holds such a center. Its name is Sagittarius A. You can't see it, but you can feel its influence. Stars whip around it at breathtaking speeds, not in chaos, but in choreography. You float closer now, passing above quiet arms of spiral dust and gas, past clouds where stars are born, past light that has traveled for tens of thousands of years. And then stillness, not nothing, not void, just stillness that bends things gently. Here sits the black hole. It does not call, it does not threaten. It simply is like a stone in the center of a pond, too heavy to move, but still part of the water's story. You drift past other galaxies, to each one holding a black hole at its heart. It seems that where there is structure, there is gravity. And where there is gravity, there is a center. And sometimes that center is a shadow. But this is not sinister. It is balance. It is weight. It is what lets the spiral hold. You begin to see black holes not as exceptions, but as expressions. They are what remains when a star can give no more. They are what endures when light fades. You might think they're rare because they hide so well, but there are likely millions in our galaxy alone. Some the size of a city, others the size of solar systems. All of them held together by nothing more than mass and memory. You pass near a smaller one now. A stellar mass black hole. It once was a star like our sun, but heavier when it died. Its core collapsed, its body vanished from sight, and now it waits here, alone, but not forgotten. You can feel it bending space, even without touching anything. Like a breath you haven't taken yet, like a weight you didn't know you carried. Somewhere in your bones, you understand it, because you too are made of stars, and stars given enough time become black holes. You float further still past the quiet dance of unseen giants. You begin to see the universe not just as light, but as structure. Threads of galaxies stretch across space like veins, each one threaded with black holes keeping its rhythm. They are not holes in the way we imagine. They are centers. They are anchors. They are gravity's way of remembering where things once were. You let your body rest in that idea that the universe is not just stars and matter, but spaces, intentional, shaped, and necessary. Black holes are not errors. They are outcomes. They are part of the design. And maybe so is stillness, so is waiting, so is silence. You take a deep breath now, as if space itself is filling your lungs. You think about the things in your life that cannot be seen, but are still holding shape. The center of your own galaxy, your own memory, your own being. What do you carry, quiet and invisible, that still bends the path of things around you? What black holes live in you, not as loss, but as center? You float now among millions of them. They do not speak, but they do not need to. They hold, they shape, they wait. And you rest here in a universe full of holes, feeling whole. You may think of black holes as distant things, far-off shadows into galaxies you'll never visit. But tonight, you discover something quieter and perhaps more astonishing. You live inside the influence of gravity's deep story, not just when you look at the stars, but when you check the time, send a message, open a map, or walk through your day without thinking about the sky at all. Black holes are not only in the darkness above, they're in your pocket, your schedule, your breath. Let's begin with something simple. Your phone, inside it, silently, without thanks. A signal connects to satellites orbiting Earth. These satellites form part of the Global Positioning System, or GPS. They don't just know where you are, they know when you are. Each satellite carries a clock ticking with precise rhythm. But because they're higher above Earth's surface, farther from its gravity, those clocks tick faster than the ones down here. Why? Because gravity bends time. You felt this before as a concept, as a poetic truth. But here it is, measured in nancons. Without correction, those differences would quickly add up. GPS would drift. Your location would become unreliable. But scientists know this, and they correct it every day. So your phone knows where you are, because we've learned how to listen to the bending of time. You hold that in your pocket, a connection between spacetime and sidewalk. The theory of general relativity, first whispered by Einstein more than a century ago, is now embedded in the quiet machinery of daily life. It's not dramatic, it doesn't shine, but it works, and it was black holes that helped prove it. For decades, they were the ultimate test. Places where gravity was so strong, space and time curved beyond our understanding. When we studied how black holes bent light, how stars orbited around them, how they released gravitational waves, we confirmed again and again that space and time are not rigid. They flow, and you live inside that flow. You might be walking down a quiet street, phone in hand, messages buzzing, maps tracking your path. And above you, a satellite's clock ticks more quickly because it floats farther from Earth's pull. Down here, your watch ticks more slowly, not enough to feel, but enough to matter. Time is personal. Gravity makes it so. You begin to understand black holes aren't just distant mysteries. They are guides, teachers. They have taught us how gravity curves reality, how time isn't a straight river, but a shifting tide. You look around your room now. You feel the gentle weight of your body against the bed, the soft press of deep gravity on your skin. This, too, is part of the story. Earth is curving spacetime around you, not dramatically, not dangerously, just enough. Your cup of tea cools more slowly at altitude. Your body ages imperceptibly faster on a mountaintop. Every moment is shaped slightly by where you are in the field of gravity. And black holes, they are that field's deepest fold. They showed us what gravity can do, not just by pulling hard, but by changing time, hiding light, revealing structure. And you, without knowing it, have benefited. When scientists looked into the behavior of black holes, they weren't chasing fantasies. They were refining truths, creating models, building understanding. And now those truths are folded into the world you live in your phone, in your car, in the synchronized heartbeat of digital time. Even the images you send, the photos you store, the algorithms you trust to guide your path, they rely on time as measured in curved space. You begin to realize you don't need to fall into a black hole to be shaped by one. They've already curved the future. They have already reached you, not as danger, but as design. You breathe now thinking about the things you carry, not just technology, but understanding, a heritage of questions asked by minds staring into space and wondering what light cannot tell them. And here you are, resting on a planet that spins through a galaxy that spirals around a black hole. And every breath you take is part of that motion. You don't need to go anywhere. You're already orbiting mystery, already woven into the pattern. You think now of the smallest ways gravity touches your life. a glass set gently on a table. Your balance as you walk, the moon's pull on the tides, the clock's steady hum. Black holes taught us what gravity really is. Not a force pulling things down, but a bend in the fabric beneath us. They are not just holes, they are tools, they are teachers. And tonight, as you lie still beneath your blanket, beneath the roof, beneath the sky, beneath the stars, you are learning from them still. You may not feel your time slowing. You may not see the satellites overhead, but you can sense it now. The black hole in your pocket, the curved time in your breath, the invisible mathematics holding your life in balance. You do not float alone. In the universe, you are part of it. You carry it and it carries you. You begin to drift inward again, not toward danger, but toward something deeper, toward the center. Every galaxy has one, a quiet heart, a gravitational anchor, a supermassive black hole. You may have seen galaxies in photographs, spirals of light, arms sweeping outward like cosmic pinwheels, or glowing ellipses of dust and stars. They are vast billions of stars, clouds of beer, nebula, clusters, halos, and yet every one of them revolves around a center. You float toward one now. Its spiral arms stretch like ribbons through the night. Soft blue stars flicker at the edges. Pale red giants glow near the middle, and you are drifting between them, drawn by a gravity you cannot see. You move slowly, calmly, like a feather falling through a cathedral of stars. The core of the galaxy glows brighter, not because of the black hole itself, but because of what surrounds it. Gas swirls inward. Stars pass near and slingshot away. The space here is dense with motion, but it feels quiet. You're nearing the heart. The black hole itself is still hidden. It casts no light. It leaves no trace for the eye, but its influence is unmistakable. Everything curves around it. Everything belongs to it. The stars don't fall in. Most simply orbit, like bees around an unseen queen, like dancers around a silent conductor. You rest within that orbit. Now, this black hole is supermassive. Perhaps 4 million times the mass of our sun, or 10 billion. Some grow larger still, but no matter how massive, they all have one thing in common. They are still. They do not chase. They do not feed hungrily. They wait. They shape. They hold. You hover just above the glowing dust that spirals around the center. Here, the black hole stirs motion without being seen. It reminds you that power does not always announce itself, that influence does not require sound. You think now of our own galaxy, the Milky Way. You've never seen its center, but it is there. Sagittarius A, tucked behind dust and distance, wrapped in shunts. It has held this galaxy together for billions of years. Not by effort, just by gravity, just by being. And still, it changes things. Stars pass too close. Gas falls inward. Energy is released in bursts of X-rays. But most of the time, it waits. You begin to wonder, how did it form? Did it grow slowly, feeding on some stars? Or was it born large, part of the galaxy's very first breath? No one knows for certain, but perhaps that's the point, that some centers do not speak their story. They simply hold space for others to orbit. You think now of your own center, the quiet place within you, the stillness beneath your thoughts, not empty, not absent, just holding. Perhaps That's what the black hole at the center of a galaxy really is. A metaphor written in gravity. The shape